Hello there, gang. Once again, it's the Culture Crow group coming at you with this time a special featured co-host and one Stu Simpson, lead singer and songwriter of the band Hadrian's Union, professional actor, TV extra, movie extra as well, which we'll probably get to at some point in the conversation. But we are talking about something special today, gang. So special that we could probably do several different podcasts about each little thing that we're going to talk about, which we may in fact try to do at a later date. But today, this is your intro. Okay, so before we get into that, introductions. We have Jeff as well. There we go. One of the usual suspects.
As
of
usual.
course, me, James, as usual, and of course me. And anything you gentlemen would like to say before we launch in?
Let's do it.
Hip hip, what, and very nice to meet you. Yes, and I believe that everybody in America thinks that we speak like this over here. But it's not true. I speak like this, so get used to it.
Stu, if it's any consolation, I think people are sort of starting to get, like, anybody who watches the new Doctor Who.
Yeah.
She has that Yorkshire accent. It's like...
It's quite wonderful.
Yeah. For you, it's wonderful. For a lot of it's just like, wait, really? Of course, you know. Yeah. There's quite a bit of that going on. And, yeah, Jodie Whittaker. Anyway... here we are. We're going to be talking about one member of the Holy Trinity of Neil. For me personally, I have a Holy Trinity of Neil.
Okay.
Yeah, like I feel like it's somewhat of a Monty Python sketch, but Neil Gaiman.
Okay.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I don't know who that is.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's like this. He's a very famous scientist and television personality.
Have you seen
He's
the
like a
new
boxer.
Cosmos? Have you seen the new Cosmos? You know, Carl Sagan did the old Cosmos.
No, not
Nope.
so. Okay. Well, it's fine. And if you had said, I don't know who Neil Diamond is, then we probably would have a problem. Yeah.
He's a singer, right?
I would probably be like, click off. Fuck this guy.
He's a singer, right?
He's only the greatest singer-songwriter of our generation. This or any generation. It's Jeffrey. That's from Saving Silverman. Come on.
Oh,
now.
okay. That's a good movie.
It's a phenomenal movie. It's one of my favorite. It probably is my favorite comedy of all time, and it probably says a lot of really terrible things about me. But whatever.
I just visioned a certain part of that movie.
There are a lot of parts of that movie that in fact, it probably gets quoted. Stu, have you seen Saving Silverman?
No. What is it about?
It came out, God, I want to say probably about 17 years ago. It's been a while. It has it has Jason Biggs from the American Pie movies.
Yeah.
It has Jack Black, of course. It has Steve Zahn, if you're familiar with those names. It has Arlie Ermey, the guy who's famous for being the drill sergeant guy, like in the Full Metal Jacket. He's in there. It has Amanda Pete's in there. So those are the famous ones. But of course it has Neil Diamond. In fact, the entire movie is framed by the character's mutual love of Neil Diamond. And they even have like a tribute band that they do, like they busk on the streets and sing Neil Diamond songs. And it's near and dear to my heart. It's very nostalgic.
Well, you must like the Big Bang Theory episode, the Neil Diamond episode.
Okay, I'm probably going to lose a few people here, but I don't really watch the Big Bang Theory.
Oh,
yeah. Are you either, Jeff?
No.
I've seen several episodes.
I've seen a few,
but some of the characters just like they get on, like the Sheldon character. He's such a dick.
People love him though.
Yeah, no, people love him. People love him.
Everybody loves Dick.
Well, that's the scene I thought of when you said Saving Silverman. Is the yoga scene?
Yes, that's the one scene you thought of. Really?
That's hilarious.
God, Oh, well, all right. I love how
now.
we're actually here to talk about the third member of the Holy Trinity of Neil, and we haven't even said his name yet. The name is Neil Gaiman, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'm going into share screen. We're doing this. Are you ready?
I am ready.
I know, technology.
Wow. I prefer him with a beard, to be honest.
You prefer him with a beard? Really?
Yeah, he looks weird without the beard.
Well, we're about ready to come between. You know, you say he looks weird without a beard. Now, I think I'm with you on that. Even though the beard, I think, is a recent phenomenon in the history of Neil.
I don't know if I've seen him with a beard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the past few years, he's worn the beard. I think, you know, as they've become more fashionable or whatever. But yeah, I grew up seeing him without it, so it's completely normal.
But he doesn't even have to cover up his double chin.
So
hey now.
So what? I want to know the longevity of the Neil Gaiman fandom that you guys have. How long does it go back for you, James, and how long does it go back for you, Jeff?
I am perfectly committed to answering that. My Neil Gaiman fandom, as it were. My story about Neil is sort of long and complicated. I remember, because I used to be a big comic book nerd. Jeff does, because, you know, little history. Jeff and I grew up. We've been like BFFs since the 4th grade, which is, you know, what, 9 years old. Yeah, so like I was always into comic books, Jeff to a lesser extent, and I remember hearing Neil Gaiman's name quite a bit, and then like as I got a little bit older, like his Sandman series was what everybody was talking about. Like, oh, you want something good to read? You better read the Sandman, which you have handy. Yes. I know. Actually, I might. Well, while you guys are speaking or something, I might go grab some of my copies, which I'd meant to do. My sister had to have surgery at the hospital, right? When I was 14, and my mother was just like, "Here, well, you know, while we're sitting there in the waiting room, go grab something to read." And so I went to this comic book store on the way to the hospital and bought Sandman number 38, and a couple other things as well at the time, and. I read it, and I had no fucking clue what was going on. Obviously, because I mean, you've read it by now. That it's narratively dense. There's a lot going on. It's kind of hard. It's not the issue, and a lot of the issues wouldn't be right for the ones to pick up on. So, I just sort of wrote him off as far as, you know, what he offered and what Sandman offered, and then I want to say roughly about the same time. Shortly thereafter, even maybe a little bit before that, he wrote an issue of Spawn, Todd McFarlane's Spawn. And are you familiar with that at all?
I know that they made a film called Spawn. So a movie.
Yeah, they're right. You're back in like the late 90s?
Yeah.
Apparently they're remaking it, but who gives a shit? It's just Faust with superpowers, so fuck it.
If somebody touches the Goonies, I'm getting a plane, I'm coming over there.
They've talked about it.
I'm gonna say if they reboot it, we have an issue. If they do, I don't know. I kind of want to see
Home Alone.
Yeah, they did. There's 5 of them now. I don't. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Oh yeah, no. Okay. You are. This is why we're here.
We are tangent men.
It's true. Okay. Yeah. We do love that. So Neil Gaiman. So he wrote issue number 9 of Spawn, which had these characters that he introduced. One was Angela, who they end up having this legal fight eventually, and it's a really weird history how those Todd McFarlane and Neil Gaiman interact. It's sort of bizarre, actually. And eventually, Angela, this comic character he created for Spawn, for the Image Comics company that McFarlane co-founded, ends up going to Marvel within the last probably, 5 or 10 years. And that, I guess that was my introduction to Neil Gaiman. But as far as my fandom goes, my real fandom was I was in a college. This is when I was in college. This was probably been year 2000, whatever it was. I was sitting reading a book in my college class, and somebody this guy I was sort of acquaintances with he usually sat next to me. He's like, "Oh, you're reading such and such." I don't even remember what book that was, but he's like, "Hey, you have to read Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. You'll love it." Yeah. So I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll totally read Neverwhere." And I read Neverwhere, and I was completely blown away. So I have been hardcore Neil since I read Neverwhere in college. And like I said, I had flirted with fandom a little bit before then. And I knew even back then, he seemed like something I might like when I was older. Yeah. And I'd come back to, but that's it. So we're talking about since the year 2000. I remember the next book I read American Gods had just come out, and then American Gods I read it, and to this day it remains probably in my top 3 or 4 favorite novels ever. So it's definitely near and dear to my heart. Gentlemen, Go ahead.
Jeff.
Okay. Mine is not that long.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm being verbose.
And what about you? And what about your fandom?
Very wide, very thick. No. Shit. I liked Stardust, and I didn't really pay attention to. I watched the movie Stardust, and I really didn't pay attention to who had written it. But then he told me, "Hey, that's Neil Gaiman." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And you should read some more stuff. And I went, okay. And I started to. I actually got an audio version of Stardust, started listening to it. And then my iPod died, and I apparently had erased it from the computer. And so I kind of just forgot about it for a while. And then I watched Good Omens, and it's like, oh, that's Neil Gaiman too.
Yeah.
And
I'm in that.
And so over the last week, I listened to the Cemetery book, and I've listened to part of M is for Magic, and and I started watching the TV show for American Gods, but I was going through some family stuff then, and it was just a little too depressing. So I'm gonna try it again now.
Yeah, it's dark.
It was just a little too dark.
Excellent.
Okay, so what I have on the screen is a little bit of the biography. He turned 60 this year. He's getting to be up there. And again, I don't feel so far behind. Anyway, one of the knocks against Neil is his. So that was one of the things I actually ran into the beginning of my. Wait, Stu, did you tell about your fandom? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
No, it's
cut him off at the knees.
It's okay. It's slightly shorter than Jeff's.
Okay.
Are you going to make the same joke?
I'm just going to embellish it. Basically, mine's also started with Stardust, the film. And I was just a friend of mine. I'm a Morris dancer. It's one of my pastimes that I do. And one of my fellow Morris men, who's also I'm a big book reader and I used to be a bookseller years ago. So I was very aware of Neil Gaiman and what he did. And even when customers used to come into, I used to work at Waterstones in Piccadilly Circus in London. And to my shame, even when customers, I would just get a kick out of when customers would come in and they'd say, "Excuse me, where are the graphic novels?" And I'd be like, "Oh, you mean the comic books?" And they would be very angry, very, very angry. Yeah, but anyway, that was my first introduction to where Neil Gaiman would be.
So were you like, "Fuck this Neil Gaiman guy"?
Yeah, but now I'm one of you. It's so good.
Damn right.
When you said graphic novels, I thought you were going to be like the adult book section's over there.
Yeah, that'd be nice. No, that was
not that kind of graphic.
Yeah, so I started with Stardust, and then I heard all about Neil Gaiman through graphic novels and things. I'm also an artist as well as and I'm currently writing a book myself. So all of these worlds are kind of very much a part of sort of what I'm doing, but I'd for some reason just didn't get that involved in it. But my friend who was the Morris dancer said, "Have you read Neverwhere?" And I hadn't. And so my sort of backstory is similar to you guys in the sense of I've watched the film Stardust, and then did a bit Neverwhere. But it's only in the last couple of weeks that you said, well, check out Sandman, and I've not been able to put it down. It's been so good. It's I never knew that a comic book or a graphic novel could just suck you in so much with the story and all of in the pages and the detail. It's the detail in the pictures which are given out so much, because there's not a lot of dialogue, but the actual story itself is coming through some of the drawings.
Which Stu, you went through the master class, or you're almost you're almost through it. Like, he actually talks about like plotting and how that, like, what he loves about making comic books versus writing novels is, the graphic panel, which is pretty. He has some really cool insight about it, which I guess we can talk about.
I've not got there yet, but I'm enjoying the masterclass as well.
Okay, so anyway, one of the things. This is what I started to say. One of the things yes, Jeff, you have something to say?
What is a Morris dancer?
Oh.
What?
I assure you that's probably something that 99.9% of Americans have never heard of before.
Okay. It is available in the States as well. Morris dancing is a folk dancing tradition from, there's conjecture about where it began, because the word Morris could be interpreted from the word Moriscan. But anyways, it goes back a very, very long way in England, not in Scotland so much, but mostly in England. So it's folk dancing, English folk dancing. So bells, hankies, sticks, that sort of thing. So yeah, just look and Google it, Morris dancing. And I'm sure that 99% of Americans will see it as very silly. but it's really good fun. It's really, really good fun. There's a camaraderie in that I've never really experienced, but it's not something I was brought up with. It's generally passed down from father to son.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely
that was my experience. If that was going to be my experience, I would probably just be eating pork scratchings and watching pornography.
Wouldn't we all?
What's the matter with that? No.
You can't shake a stick to it.
Oh.
You see what I did there?
Yeah, we're with you in spirit, if not in literal sense.
With bells on.
Oh, okay, that I've never tried.
Anyway, yeah, Jeff asked.
Anyway, no. What I was trying to say is back when I had first found Neil Gaiman, people were like, "Oh, isn't that the Scientologist guy?" Because apparently he had. Well, no, people had said like, "Oh, he's a Scientologist. I don't want to have anything to do with him," and wrote him off because of that. And lo and behold, within the last probably 15, 20 years, he's. If you've watched Going Clear or that show with Leah Remini about leaving the Church of Scientology, it's a very fraught experience. And of course, when we say Church of Scientology, we say Church of Scientology. Stu, how familiar are you with Scientology?
Yeah, I've watched a couple of documentaries.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there was this one documentary by Stone and Parker, I think were their names.
South Park episode.
Have you seen the South Park episode?
I don't. I might have.
It's the one with Tom Cruise in which he refuses to come out of the closet.
No, that's not South Park. That's Family Guy.
Oh, they might have done it in that one too, but there were even like court injunctions before Parker and Stone aired that episode. So they kept saying that Scientology was a pyramid scheme, a Ponzi scheme.
Yes, I have seen that one. Yes.
And they even within minutes of them airing the show, they had to say they weren't calling it a pyramid scheme. They were calling it not a pyramid scheme, or not legally allowed to be called a pyramid scheme, which I think made the show probably even more brilliant. But anyway,
South Park is like a test of how serious you take yourself, because you oh wait, that's me.
Yes. Well, yeah. And anyway, so as far as Neil Gaiman goes, I mean, he had grown up with it. His father was like a higher up Scientologist, and his family had been. I think he has two sisters, and both of them are involved. I think to this day, if not until recently anyway, in the Church of Scientology. And if you know anything about Scientology, I think it goes without saying that it is, I mean, people use the term cult and probably a little too loosely. There are certainly some dangers there. In fact, I believe the United States is the only government in the Western world that recognizes the Church of Scientology as an actual religion. So, yeah, it gives them tax exemption status and things like that. So, our dear friend Jeffrey actually lives. How close to the international headquarters do you live?
I'm on the other side of Pinellas, basically.
Okay, so
straight
you're
west.
not in the creepy part of Clearwater, because apparently downtown Clearwater gets pretty creepy with all the Scientologists.
Yeah. We've seen them, though, because my allergist used to be down there and be a bunch of people all wearing the same clothing and be like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. I mean,
landed.
They have. Anyway, and he ends up marrying a woman who was involved with the Church of Scientology, and he moves to the U.S. and he actually spent the next couple decades living and working out of Wisconsin, one of the Midwestern states. Although, of course, he'd go back quite a lot. Anyway, he also ends up marrying a rock and roll star, Amanda Palmer, formerly of the Dresden Dolls. Although, Stu or Jeff, have you kept up on the news between the two of them?
Apparently, they're still together, but living apart.
Yes, they were both in New Zealand, and I remember because I follow Neil on social media, and he had this like lovely little cottage in the middle of nowhere, New Zealand, which is my life's dream, to just live in the middle of New Zealand in a cottage. And he's like, oh, look at this cute little cave. Like it's like a manger scene from Jesus Christ being born, where he was writing something on his laptop or whatever it was. And then like 3 days later, he's on a flight to Scotland, and people were saying like, oh, they're breaking up or whatever it was. And then he got in a little bit of hot water because somebody had, he says that somebody hijacked his Goodreads account and was, like it said, now reading, Neil Gaiman was reading something like how to deal with a narcissistic personality and like being married to a narcissist or whatever it was, which is funny. But I don't think that, like, I don't know.
Amanda Palmer's awesome, though. She's absolutely fantastic. Her music's great. And her stance on, as a singer-songwriter and a musician and artist myself, I've taken a lot of what her advice on how to go about being me and earn my living for what it is, from actually just going out there and being a part of that world.
Yeah.
When I found out that Amanda Palmer was married to Neil Gaiman, I was like, what the actual, really?
Yeah, they have a kid. He's 5, Ash. Anyway, I mean...
Is it Ash Gaiman or Ash Palmer?
I think it's both, actually. Even when they got married, he took Amanda Palmer's middle name, I think, as his middle name. It's something weird. Of course, I'm getting this off Wikipedia, but that's how it is.
Totally trustworthy.
Yeah, right. Well, it's surprisingly better than it used to be.
Wikipedia or Amanda Palmer?
Wikipedia, as far as like what their names are or whatever. But no. Anyway, so back to the subject at hand. I could not list all of his awards. It's voluminous. He has his own separate Wikipedia article going through everything that he's won, and of course, the Eisner Award is like the top award that you can win in comic books, which he won for Sandman and a few. I think was won or nominated for some of the other things that he did. Harvey Awards is another comic thing. And then, of course, he won or was nominated for Locus Awards for like every single thing this guy put out. He's on the awards nomination list, or he won for Bram Stoker Awards, Hugo, Nebula. Those are the biggies. British Fantasy Award and the Newbery Medal, which is given to the top youth work, and that was for the Graveyard Book, which we're going to talk about shortly. And I had to put this somewhere because I didn't really have any other place to put it. But he wrote 2 episodes of Doctor Who. They're both Matt Smith 11th Doctor episodes. Yeah. The one is The Doctor's Wife. The second one is Nightmare in Silver. Do you guys have any recollections of either of those episodes?
But Matt Smith's one of my favorite Doctors, I must admit.
Matt Smith is my favorite Doctor. I have no problem. Like, I love David Tennant because he's a big Steven Wilson fan, and like I worship at the feet of Steven Wilson. But God, Matt Smith is my favorite. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with that episode. I love that episode, The Doctor's Wife.
And I've only just got the link between Good Omens, David Tennant, Doctor Who, Neil Gaiman. There's in all those different things.
Are we connecting the dots in real time?
Yeah, absolutely.
My favorite Doctors are Tennant and Smith too.
But I think my favorite Doctor goes back to the 80s.
Peter Davison.
Show me age.
I haven't watched those.
What?
No, I've watched several of them. Tom Baker was my first Doctor. My mom used to make, I was like 8 years old, and my mom was making fun of me for watching that crappy British show.
Tom Baker's
something like that.
My dad
he's from the 70s, but you have you have Bruce Davison. Is it Peter Davison?
Peter Davison.
Yeah, Bruce Davison's the other character actor. Peter Davison, who does the latter part of the 80s, and then God, I forget the name of the other one. He was only Doctor for a couple years. He's in those new Hobbit movies as Radagast. I know I'm blanking. Definitely not my favorite Doctor.
I remember watching one part of one Doctor Who
Sylvester McCoy.
When I was a kid.
That's it. Good job.
Sylvester McCoy was my Doctor. And when you're growing up with a Doctor, Sylvester McCoy was my Doctor Who.
Well, I was watching one episode, and I didn't catch the beginning or the end, so I didn't know what it was. All I know is it was set in space. So I was like, "Ooh, cool! I'm gonna watch this." My dad came in and went, "We're not watching that," and he changed the channel. So I never found out what it was until much later.
I'm 42 years old next week. My partner still does that.
Wow! I hope not to know.
We're not having that.
Wow! Do you at least have a second television?
Oh, we've got like 5.
So do you ever just say, "Okay, I'm out"?
Often. Actually, most nights.
Okay. Brandy and I are the same way. Where some things we'll watch together. A lot of it we watch separately. Anyway, I actually love The Doctor's Wife. I knew Neil Gaiman
Is that the one
wrote the episode.
It starts like in Germany or something.
No. The Doctor's Wife is when they end up out of the universe, and then it's like a pocket universe, and then when the TARDIS becomes a woman.
Oh my God!
I need to watch those again.
And it's super creepy, but really cool. It's like, and the TARDIS is like messed up, and like they had to transfer the consciousness of the TARDIS into this human woman, and he actually ends up having some conversation with the TARDIS as this woman, and he calls her like the name of, like, it's one of those moments like in the Neverending Story where he gives the TARDIS its true name, and at the end of Neverending Story he's yelling Moonchild, right? And then at the end of this episode he's yelling sexy, right? So yeah, I absolutely love that part, and I think it's definitely one of the highest rated episodes of the new incarnation of Doctor Who. I think it has a 9.0.
Yes, I'd like to revisit Matt Smith again.
That he's the one I end up going back to the most. So obviously, he
added a lot of comedy to Doctor Who, which
he does. I also thought he was the beneficiary of the best writing, in my opinion.
Yeah,
when he went Geronimo, I was like, okay, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah,
right after
I think Capaldi brought best acting though. I think Peter Capaldi was sort of
Peter Capaldi
used to, but he
didn't click for me until he started playing guitar, and that's a fact. Like once he started rocking out, I'm like, all right, now we got it. But up until then, I was.
But I don't know if do you know the thick of it?
Of which part?
Oh, that show about the political,
the thick
political
of it.
show. I started watching it.
Like literally, I thought you're like the thick of what, Stu? The thick of what?
The television program, the thick of it.
No, I don't know.
Really awesome insults from Peter Capaldi in that
It's
show.
astonishing. He's actually based on one of our political characters.
On the show.
I found out about that show because I was watching like 100 Best Insults. YouTube 100 Best Insults. And he's in there quite a few times.
It's astonishing.
Really?
So, so Peter Capaldi played Malcolm Tucker before he became the Doctor. So yeah.
Okay.
So my knowledge of this actor is way beyond before he became Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Obviously, but Doctor Who's obviously a worldwide phenomenon. So
I saw him in some show.
But anyway,
with Hugh Laurie too. Pretty good.
We've went and got lost in
another tangent. Way to go, guys. Oh, my God. Anyway, the last thing I'm going to have on this before we go on is he wrote the screenplay for a film that the Jim Henson Company ends up producing called Mirror Mask, which I enjoy. I enjoy it.
Last time I talked to you, I hadn't seen it. Last
He's
time
not
I talked
to me.
No, James.
Oh, it's like we froze up for a second.
Last time I talked to you about Mirror Mask, you hadn't seen it. So,
no, I bought the DVD a year or two ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while then.
I think it was before. Yeah, it was before I moved to my current house. All right, we're moving on. Hey guys, comic books.
Ooh.
Obviously, Neil gets his start in the comic book world, and it goes without saying that we would not know his name if it were not for certain comic book projects. Black Orchid was apparently his first major work and he did it on a commission for DC, based on a character, like it was a character from the 1940s. They just sort of, brought out of the mothballs for this guy to write. This young 20-something-year-old kid, like, here, have a go at it. And apparently, he knocked some socks off with it. He wrote this other thing. I think this was one of his next things. This Books of Magic. That's what you're doing now, Jeff?
No, M is for Magic.
Oh, M is for Magic. Okay.
Short stories.
Oh, okay.
I've got a question. How does that work when it comes? So you say the ideas for characters are like held somewhere, and then they get given to the author, and then he has to play with it.
Well, they had come out. It was all part of like Action Comics, the same, the Superman comic book.
Yeah, before it was DC.
It was still it was DC at that point.
Oh.
And is this why old characters keep appearing? Because I'm only halfway through.
Yeah. It might be a little bit with that, although I think the Sandman verse definitely gets parsed out and separate from that. Like the Vertigo imprint kind of becomes its own thing. So you'll have like John Constantine Hellblazer, which Neil Gaiman had some hand in as well, and of course Lucifer and Death and things like that.
Yeah, I was just going through Netflix and watching Lucifer because we're doing this.
Yeah,
and then I was flicking through the Sandman, and I was like, oh, there's David Bowie, and he's Lucifer.
Right. Yes, that was definitely intentional, and apparently, Stu, you might know this person. I did not when I was researching. The character Death was supposed to be based on a singer named Nico.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I mean, like, tell you I know. Nico, I have no idea. It was one name, stars. Okay, is that what it was?
I think Nico was Lou Reed's girlfriend.
Okay. Back that makes more
sort of times.
sense then. Yeah. Anyway, so...
Oh, my God, I'm more of a nerd than I thought I was. Hooray!
We have excavated the nerd.
One of us. One of us.
Yep. Okay, so in 1989, this is actually the cover of Sandman #1. And that was how he really got his name. And, of course, that's people wanted him to do other work, and then he takes a few things from there. But this is actually my volume 1 of the Sandman Omnibus. I mean, it's huge. Like, look at my head. It's like half the size of my head. Whatever.
That's what she said.
No, Jeffrey. No.
I felt left out. I think somebody else made it earlier.
You're right.
Who's the blonde guy flying?
The blonde. Oh, yeah. Actually, that was, we all wanted to sort of read something Neil related to get ready for this podcast. I actually read, I'm going to scoot back for a second.
Well, he's scooting. I want to go and scoot to the kitchen to get more wine. I'm dry.
I actually read this. It's Marvel's Eternals. Ooh. If you guys are familiar with the name Jack Kirby.
No.
Yes.
Okay, so Jack Kirby is one of the originals, right? Yes?
No.
Hold on.
I think Jeff's a yes, and I think I'm a no.
I've heard the name, but
things were going so well. Oh, there it goes. So things were going so well, I could hear you. Okay. Jack Kirby created the Eternals for Marvel. Like, he came back because if you know the story of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, they are the godfathers of Marvel godfather of comics, period. Who are we talking about?
I knew about Stan Lee. I didn't know about the other guy.
Oh, yeah. Jack Kirby was the original illustrator for a lot of these comic books, like these comic book people that you know of, and co-creator, I should say. Anyways, it comes back in the 70s and creates these characters called the Eternals, which I realize is backwards right there. But it kind of sort of, like, even as a kid, the Eternals were nobody. Nobody wanted anything to do with them. And I think that's Neil Gaiman's specialty. He takes these obscure characters that nobody really gives a shit about. And
he's a bit like Simon Cowell.
Yeah. Ooh. I don't know if that's a good comparison. Oh my God.
It was a joke.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
this is the British humor.
Does he know talent? I'm not quite sure.
He takes the nobodies that nobody's interested in them.
Okay.
A little bit of yoga. That was a big stretch.
I mean, he's got Kelly Clarkson and Carrie Underwood. He probably has several acts that we've heard of, but
One Direction.
He did One Direction?
Yeah, X Factor UK.
Oh.
I think it was X Factor. But yeah, he put that together.
But the question is, would anybody here speak out in any of those acts' defense? Okay, silence is golden. Silence is golden. Yeah. We win. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to say about 10 or 12 years ago, he wrote this series Eternals, which I was going to briefly mention. Marvel, the MCU, is adapting Neil Gaiman's run, this actual trade paperback. It's 8 issues that he did. Neil Gaiman's story. They're adapting Neil Gaiman's story for for the new movie that's supposed to be coming out with, Kit Harington, Selma Hayek's in it. It's a laundry list of A-listers.
Is this basically a Netflix thing?
Say what?
Is this a Netflix movie?
No. It's a full-on Marvel Cinematic Universe a la Avengers. Excellent. And everything else that's supposed to be coming. It was supposed to be coming out a little bit sooner. I think they pushed it back till February of next year, obviously because of the Rona.
Yeah.
Corona. Yep. Me too. Every time somebody says Corona.
Did you both start singing that at the same time?
I started going do 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 do.
Oh, that's frightening.
My Corona.
There we go.
A twist of lemon.
Oh my God. Anyway, there's that Spawn comic book that I was talking about, and of course, Death is one of the big characters that comes out of the Sandman comic. She actually appears pretty early on. He comes back later on when he has a legal battle with Todd McFarlane, who just seems like a big douchey douche. They're fighting over some legal rights related to the character Angela, as well as a character that Alan Moore had wrote. He didn't create, but had wrote about called Marvel Man. And for copyright issues, they had to change it to Miracle Man, and especially in the United States. And
both names are kind of meh.
Well, I mean, it's the 70s, right? So what had happened? Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, so what had happened is Todd McFarlane created these characters that Neil Gaiman ended up creating these characters that Todd McFarlane had kept using throughout the run of Spawn. And Neil Gaiman's like, I created those. Your company is founded on the rights of creators. You owe me royalties. And so the judges, I should say, because it went to appeals court and again found in Neil Gaiman's favor. And part of it was because Todd McFarlane had bought the rights to this other character. Neil Gaiman was trying to get both this Angela character you see here and this Marvel/Miracle Man character. And somebody at Marvel, it was actually Joe Quesada, who was the publisher, editor-in-chief or whatever of Marvel back in the early 2000s, approached Neil about doing something. And it was right after September 11th, 2001. He's like, I just want to do something kind of off the modern radar. And they like, yeah, here, do like a Marvel thing in the 1600s. And so he wrote this Marvel 1602, which I did read. Cool. It's really bizarre and fascinating. He does some really cool things with characters and the variation.
The artworks. I'm more drawn to that piece of artwork than the rest of them for some reason.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. The composition is fantastic.
Definitely. So yeah, that's sort of a really intro to the comic book works of Neil Gaiman. As much as a fan. Yeah, go ahead. Does
Neil go between the worlds of Marvel and DC? Does he do a bit of both?
He had done most of his work for DC, and especially that Vertigo imprint, which he's kind of the one who was out there blazing the trail for Vertigo, which was very creator-centric, and they let him have free reign, and he built that imprint, essentially.
Okay,
and it wasn't until Marvel 1602 in the early, right after September 11th that he actually does something for Marvel.
Things are starting to fall into place. So you've got Marvel, DC, and Vertigo is another comic book label.
Vertigo is an imprint, like you have labels in music, right? You have like Atlantic would be the major label holder, and then you'd have like Lava Records below associated.
So Sub Pop and Sony.
Yeah. So Vertigo is a sub label of DC.
Right. Okay. Making sense now.
There we go. Okay. See what?
Got there in the end.
Oh, there in the end. There we go. Okay, so we're ready. Let's talk about some novels. Okay. Well, we're not. I didn't even talk about novels. What the hell? Okay, we can really briefly say, Stu, you watched Lucifer. I only watched like the first 8 episodes of season 1. Is it totally worth watching?
Well, I've just got on Netflix because of doing this podcast. Yeah, and I put it on, and for some reason, Netflix are starting at series 4. So
that's because that's because of the rights issue. Because I think the other episodes maybe get on Amazon or something.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think that's so. I'm going to start the story halfway through, and so far I've watched like 3 episodes of it, and it's fantastic. Except for the fact that he's way too good looking. It's just making me feel really inadequate.
Maybe I should, because I think we're hovering over his good lookingness. And there we go.
What else was he in? What else?
I don't know. I don't like. He's probably in things that I've seen, but as far
there's an English comedy called Miranda. And I think I've seen him in Miranda playing a barman years and years and years ago.
Oh, okay.
So a bit of an English sitcom sort of thing. So, yeah. And
I don't know that one.
Fantastic. The character's really, really good.
It's like, I don't know that one, but I do know Coupling and My Family.
Yeah, My Family's good. I never really got into Coupling so much.
Jeffrey's made me watch many episodes of Coupling. I enjoy it. It's amusing. Of course, the Sandman series is actually coming to Netflix soon. Neil Gaiman actually said in April that they were right before the Rona that they were set to hit production. Yeah, there you go. I try to give you a little pause. They were actually set to go to production.
Have you actually listened to the lyrics, though, on a little tangent? Have you listened to the lyrics of My Corona? It's so wrong.
My
Sharona? Where it's gone now. My Sharona. The lyrics to My Sharona, it's just nasty.
Is it that bad?
Yeah,
I'm going to now. Really I'm going to go listen to it.
I'm going to say that. I haven't, but maybe I will now.
Yeah. And anybody who's listening to the podcast now, go and have just go and look at the lyrics. It's wrong. Wrong. It's wrong. It's just wrong.
All right, now I'm interested. Oh, anyway, so Stu, you have your copy of Sandman: Preludes and Nocturnes.
I do.
How far into it are you?
Have I got a bookmark? I do have a bookmark. I'm just being introduced to a doctor. Speaking of doctors, who's getting out of from Arkham. He's getting out. They say the episode is Passengers.
Oh, okay, okay.
So halfway through.
Arkham.
All right.
So this is DC then.
That's a DC. I mean, I don't know how much bleeding through they're going to get because of rights issues. But no, what I was going to say is, according to that article from April that I had read, they're adapting Sandman, Preludes, and Nocturnes first. So whatever friend steered you to look at that one first, Stu, was right on the money, because that's where the Amazon or the Netflix show is going to start as well.
There's my friend who works for Waterstones. It's the biggest book company. Book company I used to work for. He's another bookseller.
There we go. There we go.
He's also a fellow nerd. He's a lovely man.
Okay, so maybe we should have him on here one day.
Peach, we call him. He's a lovely, lovely chap.
Peach.
But obviously it'll have to be after the lockdown has ended.
Yes. You're still properly in lockdown, whereas where we live in the state of Florida is soon to be the epicenter of the coronavirus in the United States, according
I saw that in the
numerous articles we have read, which makes me glad I moved to a more rural area lately. Although, Jeff, you might just want to stay home forever.
So, if it in Florida gets infected, is it kind of like America got a STD?
Yes. Florida is the dong that hangs on the continent. Definitely. Okay, so Stu.
Yeah, when they said "go f yourself," then I didn't think they meant it literally.
Well, I know when the election, there's an election controversy in American politics for president in the year 2000 between Al Gore and George W. Bush. And this was back when The Daily Show with Jon Stewart was still on. It had Michigan jerking off Florida on the caption. So I'm like,
well, I live on a...
You know things are bad when you actually wish you still had Bush.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God, Stu, that's exactly what I was thinking. He said something last week. I'm like, oh, my God. As much shit as I talked about George W. Bush several years ago, I'm like, I would take him for the next 20 years if it meant we could get rid of someone else.
Our little capuchin monkey, George W. Bush.
Yep.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I live on a peninsula, and that peninsula is named Pinellas. So.
Yes, where Clearwater is.
Lots of references to penises.
Okay. I'm so glad you brought that up.
You're welcome.
Sort of the theme for what's going on here. I keep having to wipe smudges from my glasses. Anyway, this is why I usually wear contacts during these. Okay, so we're talking about Good Omens, and I have quite a lot of blank space here because dear Stu, I was trying to find you with the 45 minutes-ish I had to find you.
I did my job well.
Yeah, you hid in the scene. Stu is in the scene. In episode 1 near the bookstore, and then you said you're in the 1600s. Like the only other episode I saw of 1600s is the episode 2. Is it episode 2 that you're in, or is it like they come back to it later?
I'm really,
you have no idea.
I have no idea. Basically, they say turn up at 3:00 in the morning. You turn up at 3:00 in the morning, and then you get on a bus and you go wherever. And the shooter's got a name. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, look, there's Doctor Who. And
nice.
Get on with your day. And then someone goes, oh, this is a Neil Gaiman thing. And at the time I was like, who's that then?
Yep.
Yeah. And
I know. I remember you said you posted something on Facebook a long time ago saying that you were going to be in it. I'm like, oh my God, that's Neil Gaiman. And you're like, yeah, I've been hearing a lot about this guy, but
who is he?
It's Doctor Who and Lucian, King of the Werewolves.
Yeah.
Oh no! Is that who?
The Lycans.
Really?
I think so.
Michael Sheen. No, I know that's it. But like, it's funny how you associate Michael Sheen with that of his roles
because it's such a different look compared to this. I mean, it's like
I watch Masters of Sex, so like he'll always be Dr. Masters from Masters of Sex.
I don't have to watch that show.
Michael. He's such a good actor, though. He can.
He is.
He can play anybody.
I agree. He's
He can disappear.
underutilized.
He
Like
can
he was in
disappear
that.
into the roles.
He was in that movie with Jennifer Lawrence and was it Christopher Pratt, where they're on the spaceship and they wake up, or well, he wakes up early and he ends up waking her up, and Michael Sheen is this like android that is a bartender, and he's vastly underutilized.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Have you seen his Tony Blair?
No.
Yeah, he plays an entire film as Tony Blair. It's absolutely astonishing.
Oh,
Very, very good.
Really?
There's another very unknown film, which I wish I could remember the name of it. Where his bit in this, the premise of the story is that he's got this girlfriend. He plays in the darts. Did you know darts? Have you got darts?
No.
It's a board. And it's a pub pastime.
Darts.
I thought you were talking about a show called Darts. I'm like, I don't know.
The game darts.
Of course, that's all over here, right?
Yeah. So the character is he's big into darts anyway, but his girlfriend leaves him for the dart champion, the leader of the team, basically. Then he has to finds himself through English folk music while riding a moped up and down the English countryside. It's so quaint.
Right up your alley. That's pretty good. No, the first thing I had ever seen with Michael Sheen, like I want to say it's like early 2000s, late 90s. He did this like sort of docu-series for BBC, Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, and he plays Nero, and he is crazy as fuck. Like there's this one scene where like he's just flipped his shit, and he's like, "Don't you dare!" I'm like, "Oh my god, I want to see that guy in more stuff because he's nuts."
Yeah, it's so good.
So I followed his career since then. Basically, I keep looking for whatever he might be in, and be that's good.
Do you have Nero coffee over there?
Yeah,
Cafe Nero.
Well, wait, no shit. I'm thinking of when I was there. Sorry, but no, there's not. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So my experience of this coffee shop, Cafe Nero, has been totally tainted by his performance.
Oh, really? It just ruined the whole thing for you.
That's the best coffee you can get in the UK.
So you drink the coffee, beat your wife to death.
Well, wife slash boyfriend.
Well, and that. Okay.
Or just don't do that to anybody.
Well, for anybody who's listening, look up Nero.
True.
That is well messed up.
I actually think you can find it on YouTube. I think, or at least you watch those little 5-minute videos of him do the "Don't You Dare" scene, and that's all you really need to get the full breadth and width of his acting skills.
Then that is probably the first thing I saw him in too.
You watched the Nero thing?
I know I watched that the Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire. I don't remember him because me and memory.
Well, yes,
I've been hitting the head a lot.
Well, are you sure your mother she didn't like add to it by dropping you on your head several times as a child?
No, that was my cousin David.
Oh, I'm saying I thought that was my father. Okay,
I fell off a wall. Does that count?
Oh, that counts too. That might explain some things. Anyway, so Terry Pratchett was a follower of Neil Gaiman and some of his work, and apparently he said, "Hey, we should write a book together." And the result was Good Omens, which is a good angel and a devil commiserating to stop the apocalypse. And of course the show is brilliant, and I enjoyed it greatly. The book, I actually read the book, I want to say within about 3 or 4 years of having read Neverwhere. I remember, and I had read it on audio first. I think I still had a cassette player in that car, and I was like flipping cassettes at that point and listening to the narration of the novel, and I keep meaning to reread it. I haven't done it yet. Have you either of you read this one or read it recently?
Nope.
No, I'm halfway through watching the series.
Okay.
So,
And not spotting yourself.
And not spotting myself on numerous occasions. The scenes that we were in, the one reason why you probably can't spot me, it's meant to be the summer, but we filmed in January, and there was actual snow on the ground. So there's lots of lighting.
No, are you serious? Because like those scenes that you said are like so bright. It almost looks like a California type light.
It's supposed to be this like absolute heat of midsummer in Soho, and it was January with snow on the ground. I was hid in a pretend newspaper shop with somebody else, just kind of shivering, and ruined a pair of my shoes. And I'm never coming back.
Wait. How did you ruin a pair of your shoes?
Because it was wet everywhere. The snow was melting.
Oh, okay.
But Neil Gaiman tweeted, I think about 2 days after, and he put a massive thanks out to all the extras who were there. And I was like, well,
he was on set for much of it, wasn't he?
Oh, I didn't see him. He wasn't in the newspaper shop.
Okay. Well, okay.
Where I was hiding.
Maybe he was hiding from the public then.
While you're watching it, if you see yourself, get a screen grab and circle it.
I know. I left a blank in case we go through, and we can do it in post-production or something. Anyway, okay. So anything you gents would like to say about Good Omens before we carry on?
Sorry, Jeff, do you want to say?
Oh, go ahead.
I actually really like between the two main characters, the fact that they actually seem quite human in some ways. That there's a lot of good in one of them, but there's also a little bit of naughtiness, and it's almost exactly the same sort of balance in both characters. It's beautifully balanced, and I think probably Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman brought both of those bits themselves, because I think Terry seems a bit more. I can't remember the characters' names. Is it?
Zafriel and
the angel or the demon.
Yeah.
So I think Terry was more of the angel and Neil was more of the demon.
I can see that. I can see that.
Too,
that's the way I'm kind of reading it.
They may have actually written it like that too. Like I remember reading something about how they had approached the writing to it, and they did come together with the characters like that. So I think you hit the nail on the head.
I like how they made each other better. Like, like you think how can the angel get better? By having someone around him influence him to exercise free will.
Yeah, that's true.
The other way around is how an angel obviously influences demon by making him a little bit less of an asshole.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Well,
there is that.
A little bit of naughtiness, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Well, if you've read anything of Terry Pratchett's Discworld. And I read one of those a number of years ago. That was actually the first thing I had read from Terry Pratchett.
Color of Magic?
It was one of those. And it was definitely before I started paying attention to sequential numbering. And it was in the middle of the series. So I was just reading it to read it. And no, he's a funny, whimsical.
Quite goofy, actually.
Yeah, he's goofy.
His biography is fantastic. His Slip of the Keyboard. It's actually... I think I probably prefer reading his biography than his actual fiction.
Yeah.
More, but yeah, was a fascinating man. So his story's fantastic.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting guy. But
and I do have a certain type, and he kind of fits that sort of.
Oh yes, yes, he does. I guess.
Yeah.
From what you've said. Yes.
So he actually even made it. He made it into one of my songs. So there's a line in one of my songs when it goes, "A slip of the keyboard, a flick of the wrist." So I managed to get a nod to Terry Pratchett.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I kind of.
What song is that?
It's "Falling Free."
Okay.
Falling Free. It's on Oral Border Alice.
I'll say like that one I know, but I've listened to it, but I obviously didn't catch that reference. But then again, I don't think I knew that was the name of his biography.
It's very
probably why. Yeah, that's pretty good. No, that's perfect illusion. Way to go. Masterful even. Okay. As far as what I would say, that's it. Of course, I think we have fond, at least Stu and I have fond recollections of Neverwhere.
Yeah, I will soon. I'll have fond recollections soon.
Well, yes. If I know it started, he was commissioned by the BBC to write a teleplay for something, and so he wrote Neverwhere. And so, in fact, the novel, they talk about chicken and the egg, which came first. The show came first, and the novel came after that. And I to this day, I've never seen the show.
The novel's better.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Okay, so don't bother. I thought I read something about them readapting it, and I almost wish this actually just came out almost like a year or two ago. It has, of course, Benedict Cumberbatch, James McAvoy, and Natalie Dormer. Those of you who know who those people are,
I am aware.
big names. Yeah, big names who did an audio performance of it, and I think I bought it. I just haven't listened to it yet, and I wonder how much adaptation it gets from the novel. But yeah, the novel's wonderful. And Neil Gaiman was talking about, I think, it recently on social media as well, about how it's meant to portray like the unseen people of society, which is what ends up happening in a literal sense to the protagonist.
Is this related a little bit to the Graveyard Book and that society, that Protectors?
I don't think so.
Because the one guy was a vampire, and his female teacher was a werewolf.
No, as far as I know, there's no direct correlation. I mean, as far as what he said as of yet, I don't think there's a direct correlation.
So what is this about?
Stu, do you want to take it, or do you want me to do it?
Actually, I demand to have more booze. Do you know Withnail?
Say what?
Do you know Do you know Withnail and I?
Yes.
You need, but it's the line from the show. I demand to have more booze, and it's getting quite late here, and I only drink on a Friday. So
that's true. That's true.
I will literally be 2 minutes because I also
go booze it up.
Do it.
Right on. Okay, I will explain Neverwhere just briefly. It is a novel in which the character is working in a cube farm. The cube farm is working for a corporation. And
what is a cube farm?
A cube farm. He just works, sort of like a dead end office job. He's a grunt.
A cubicle.
Cubicle. And he has negative relationships with his coworkers and boss, and then he ends up having to save this girl, and she's part of this unseen society, and he finds that when he helps her, that people can no longer see him, and so he unwittingly becomes a member of this unseen underground society. And there's this conspiracy going on with some of the I actually don't want to spoil this. I don't want to spoil any of his novels because I want to actively encourage people to read them via audio or in the printed word. So he and this friend of his have to stop a conspiracy.
Are there monsters?
Very likely, yeah. Okay. Well, there's definitely some freakiness going on. Yeah. It's spooky. It's got his and one of the main characters, or I should say the main side characters, which you see over here. You might recognize him. I think the most famous movie he's probably been in is Snatch, the Guy Ritchie movie. He sort of like, if you were to imagine the Pirates of the Caribbean Johnny Depp character sort of combined with maybe somebody from a Guy Ritchie movie, I think you get a good idea of who that person would be. So it helps you imagine.
All right, speaking of pirates, I want to make everyone cringe for a second.
Oh, God.
What's a pirate's favorite letter?
Oh, my God. Well, Jeff, I have to say it at least once per episode, but God damn it, Jeff.
Come on, what is it?
Arg.
No, his first love be the sea.
Oh, my God. You're such a twat. Not used to.
I've been called worse.
Haven't we all? Oh, my God.
Mostly by my family. It's fine.
Oh, even better. Okay, maybe there we'll have to, part ways. Oh, yes. Anyway, so yes, Neverwhere. I actually have my original copy that I read with, yellowing pages and all of the novel.
Real books. Hooray.
Yeah, right. When I could actually see with my not degrading eyesight. This one was published in this copy that I hold was published in 2001. So I guess that was it. That solves the mystery of when the first book I read, because this was a fairly recent book at that point when I read it. So it would have been around 2001 that I read it. And I graduated in 2001, so it definitely would have been 2001 that I read that one. Anyway, okay. Are we ready to move on? Stu, any parting words about Neverwhere?
Yes, it reminded me
please.
recently of a book which I read about 2 years ago called The Strange Affair of Spring-Heeled Jack by Mark Hodder.
Yeah?
It reminded me slightly of it. It's based in 1861. It's an Albularian Britain in the grip of conflicting forces. Anyway, it's very good. It reminded me a little bit of that. So if anybody wants to check out another book, it's A Strange Affair of Spring-Heeled Jack by Mark Hodder.
Strange. Yes, when we upload, we should put the link to that buy it on Amazon or something. Yeah. When we do. Okay, anything else? Jeff, do you have any? Oh, you haven't read this one. You were asked yet.
I can make something up. I can make something up if you want to.
You can talk about Neverland.
Well, there is that.
Finding Neverland?
Okay, so here we go. That's a low quality picture, so I'm gonna bring this over here. You guys have both seen the film,
yes,
Stardust, with Michelle Pfeiffer, Robert De Niro, Claire Danes, Charlie Cox. Oh, he of most recent for most of us is Daredevil. So I actually remember I saw the movie before I read the book for that as well.
I was watching Daredevil about a month ago and went, where do I know him from?
Speaking of Daredevil, speaking of Charlie Cox, he's having trouble getting jobs now because
why?
He spent so much time playing Daredevil, not looking at people, not looking in their eyes.
Oh, really?
That people aren't hiring him because he's going to have to retrain himself to actually look at people.
Well, I remember hearing something in the rumor mill lately that when Disney Plus starts putting out a few more of these shows, they actually want him to come back for Daredevil.
All right, so maybe he can just
maybe
continue not looking people in the eye for a while.
I don't know. I really enjoyed his portrayal of Daredevil. Anyway, we're not talking about that.
If that was true, then no Londoners would ever get any work in film. They never look anybody in the eye.
Okay.
Sign of aggression.
Nice. Okay, so we're at Start. This is my copy of Stardust right here. Blue. Okay, you can't. It's backwards. I actually I'm going to show the actually paid extra for this one.
Nice
it
gold-esque filigree.
Yeah. Signed by the man himself.
When did you get that?
A few years ago.
The signature.
Yeah, I bought it through Easton Press, which the reason why I did it like that, and I actually have a funny story. I might get in a little trouble about this, about Neil. And he actually would, he'd go on tour, book signings. He actually, because Amanda Palmer has family that lives near us geographically, they would come down and he'd do some things at bookstores, or they did like these two people weird shows or whatever. So you'd have like signing events. I had never gone, and I wish I had, but apparently he's retired from public signings because there's actually like a little documentary thing about his final book tour on YouTube if you want to go watch it. Because his hand, it was getting so arthritic.
I was going to make a joke, but that's true.
Well, no, because he would talk to people and he would write messages. He was very, very kind with his time and his words, his written words. And so it showed like what would happen to his hand after these signing events. And it would just be like, swollen. He could barely. So like he would plunge it in ice. He'd plunge his hand in ice after every. Of course, I think, a lot of these guys have to do that.
Well, he's just spent 3 months on his own. His hands are going to be like this.
We have to see how many masturbation jokes we could fit into this episode.
I was trying to resist myself.
Yes. Anyway, so no, the funny story is I knew this is sad.
Okay, I won't resist myself. I was like, man, I gotta stop doing all these book signing. That's my jerking hand.
Well, no, like in terms of like what kind of person he is, he's known for being very, very kind and very generous with his fans. And so I knew this guy who had, I'd sort of turned him on to his fiction. He got actually more into Sandman than I was, as well as some of the other books like American Gods. And he had messaged Neil Gaiman via his website, the author website, and Neil messaged back because he was a question about writing. He's characterizations, whatever, the kind of stuff we pay money for now on Masterclass. Anyway, Neil Gaiman gave him a fairly like a paragraph worth of response. And so, lo and behold, the same person goes up, and I think this person might have a few screws loose, or I don't know, maybe it was because he was younger at the time, whatever. He started getting angry that Neil didn't remember the conversation.
Oh, my goodness.
So it was one of those, like, it grew into one of those very awkward, almost dangerous, I think. It wasn't truly dangerous, but I'm sure he's like,
why don't you remember me?
Fuck is this? Yeah, it was like, I think that's what he was doing. And Neil's like, so yeah.
I've been thinking about you every single day, every minute, and you don't know my name.
Yes.
And with my memory, it'd be like, oh, we went to school together? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. Jeff and I grew up together, and I still have to remind him of people that we knew back then.
What's your name?
Like that.
I'm Mom.
Oh yeah, maybe, but I don't think Neil Gaiman's like that. I just think this person may have had maybe a few too many.
Somebody I know,
or no.
Okay.
Nobody else. Anyway, so Stardust, of course, I fucking love Stardust. I love the novel, and the novel is that it's really super close to the movie. I mean, obviously, if you enjoy the movie, I recommend the book. But there's not much more.
Except what's on the other side of the wall is not hidden. They know what's on the other side of the wall, the townsfolk.
Yeah. So you have read it?
I started to, and then that iPod died, and I couldn't find where
that's right. You said that.
This is why you need to buy real books.
Well,
so I'm sorry, I can't help it. I used to be a bookseller, and
I know.
I'm a book.
Oftentimes, I will buy the physical books, but I'm at the point now where my eyes are so bad. I'm getting older. You and I are the same age. Jeff's the same age too. We're all 41, 42. There's about.
I'm 42.
Yeah, exactly.
42 next week. Woo.
Yeah, see, I'll be 42 in September. So we're all there.
I'm the old man. Oh.
Yes, you're the elder. The eldest. Anyway, so I forgot where I was going with this.
I feel like we're a budget version of the Hobbits.
R.I.P. Ian Holm, if you haven't heard.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
yes.
Sad day.
It is.
But and yesterday we had. You probably don't know. Do you know Vera Lynn?
Sounds really. I know this name.
We'll meet again.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, she died yesterday.
Yep.
103.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Ian Holm was 88.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a long life. And yeah, if I could make 88 years, I'd be quite satisfied.
Yeah, when you get to about 103, you're probably like, oh, jeez.
I could have made a bingo joke, but I wasn't sure if you'd get that. Two fat ladies? 88? No, it's definitely not a thing. It's when we have bingo calling across here, you get things like two fat ladies, 88.
What?
Oh, because
really?
When they call bingo, they got two fat ladies, 88. Seriously.
Because 88 looks like two fat ladies?
Yeah, exactly.
I have learned something this day, and it is magnificent. Oh, my God. Okay.
My dark hair is done. I'm bye.
Yes.
Bye.
The George Costanza. I'm out of here. Right? Okay, so we all three have an abiding love of the film Stardust.
Yes.
And, of course, we want to encourage people to read the book, whether printed word or audio.
It's very fun. It's very fun.
Yeah, it is. It's very imaginative. It's very imaginative.
Robert De Niro as a gay pirate. Oh, that's so funny.
Does that work for you?
It works very massively.
I was wondering, like, I mean, You have to know. You have to know these things, right?
Yeah, well, but up until he was like dancing and playing with the frocks, and I was like, "That's brilliant."
Yeah.
What the hell did they call him? All right, Captain. We always knew you were a whoopsie.
So that's the one. Yeah. I'm having childhood trauma.
Is that a common thing over there?
It was.
Oh, really?
I don't think so much anymore.
Okay. I mean, I think the only. Well, I'm not even going to talk about it. Okay, Stardust. Anything you gentlemen would like to say about Stardust, other than go watch it or read it?
I don't think
the
I've met
the song on the soundtrack by Take That's all right.
What?
You said what?
The song on the soundtrack by Take That is all right.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's okay.
Oh,
everyone should go watch it.
I have to go back and listen to that.
I don't think I've met anyone who has seen it who didn't like it.
Yeah, I agree. I know a number of people who. I even know people who would say that is their favorite movie of like all time, which is, wow. I mean, okay, but yeah, it's lovable. It's a lovable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Had you seen Ricky Gervais before?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
I don't know how big he is there.
Well, we love him now. I mean, I guess. Oh shit! What was the first thing
fired? I got fired from a job because of Ricky Gervais.
What?
Yes.
Do tell.
Yes.
When I was working for Waterstones, I worked for them for a while for a few different shops in London. One of them was a temporary job. And anyway, so Ricky Gervais came in.
Oh my god!
But he wasn't. He didn't talk to me. It was bought a book and whatever. And then about a week after, somebody else came in, and because of this event was still in my head. This guy was buying Ricky Gervais's biography, and so I was just having a bit of banter with the guy. I just thought we'd hit it off, sort of thing, having a bit of a chin wag. And I went, well, he's a little bit of a C word.
Oh my!
I was just playing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so and thank you very much. Have a nice weekend. Yada yada. And then he went to my boss because he actually, I'm missing a vital part of the story there. He unzipped his cardigan or vest or whatever it was he was wearing, and presented this Radio 1 T-shirt and said, "Actually, I work with him."
Oh my god!
And I was like, and he couldn't provide you with his own book, the stingy bugger.
Should have been. So you know what I'm talking about.
I mean, this was just banter.
Right.
He got you fired over that?
He went and told my boss that the man with the funny hair and the black fingernails was swearing at customers.
Oh my god!
Then I got taken, and then I didn't. Then my contract didn't get extended. Should we put it that way?
What year was this about?
Oh god, this is about 10 years ago.
Okay. Oh wow! When I had more hair. Yes, didn't we all?
No, I'm full.
You got the full on. Well, I mean, you get the man. I know you get the man head where it just sort of goes back.
I've always had a widow's
anyway.
peak. I've always had a widow's peak.
I'm doing the David Lynch thing. Twin Peaks.
Now that song I could start singing.
I think one time we made a joke because we were picking up a pizza near a hair clinic, and we talked about we should just get a couple of drinks and a sandwich and just sit outside and just
our luscious mains. Yes, indeed. Okay, moving on because I know we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. Let's go ahead and keep on rocking. Like I said, one of my most favorite novels of all time is American Gods. It's definitely one of his lengthiest novels. In fact, would you guys believe? I'm going to hold up my copy right here. This is my most recent copy of American Gods. I say recent because that's the 6th time I've bought the book.
You just keep wearing them out?
No. I lend them to people and they never get returned ever. So I think that's either people really love it and don't want to give it back, or they just forget and it just ends up in a trash heap somewhere. But I'm hoping the American Gods novel is still sitting on these 6 or these 5 other shelves across the country, and are well loved copies, and this is the first hardcover one I've bought. So at least there's that. That's the one I'm not lending out anymore for sure. I'll just like now.
It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't you. It wasn't you. It's been.
That was the worst Shaggy impression I've ever heard in my life. It wasn't me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, dust that one off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that. Like that was top 100 in what 1998.
Something like that. I know it was really.
We've been doing My Sharona this whole time too, though.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It was really
I guess we
popular
can.
when we were in that typing class. Remember?
Was it?
Yeah. Well, every time we'd take 1 point by spelling it Centerville Pubic Schools. You remember that?
I think that you're misremembering it. I think you remember. Like I think the song actually came out post high school.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Somebody's got to Google that.
Yeah. Well, I'm
But not
recording
right
on
now.
my phone as well.
Not right now.
So, but no, I think it might have been something else, but wasn't that. Anyway, American Gods recently adapted by the Stars Network here. Is it over there? What is it on?
I don't have any experience of this at all.
Platform. Oh well, really, that's sad. I think most. I don't want to say all, but a good number of the actors, of course, are British, and of course, Ian McShane is the god Odin. You have Ricky Whittle is the main character, Shadow.
I did do a film with him.
With Ian McShane?
Yeah.
Oh, do tell.
Jack the Giant Killer.
Oh,
Jack the
really?
Giant Killer.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's not that good.
Was that
It has,
the one?
it has Nicholas Holt, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
got,
The one
and
from
then he got
Skins.
kicked off set.
Why did wait? You almost got kicked off set. Why?
Yeah. It wasn't.
Was it for calling Ricky Gervais a cunt?
Yeah. Again.
Okay. Again. Right.
No, it was. I didn't get kicked off. Look, basically, a couple of weeks before I was on set for the film, I'd had a karaoke accident.
Wait. Stu.
Is this not a common occurrence?
How does one have a karaoke accident?
Well, one goes down to London for some because your listeners probably don't know this, but they won't know this. I live in the north, but I also work in London. So I went down for some work, and a friend of mine said, "Come to the pub and we'll do a bit of karaoke." So we did a bit of karaoke, and I got up and did "Gay Bar" by Electric Six. Had a bit, couple of too many. Stood on a chair, and the chair didn't like it, so the chair kicked me off, and I landed on my head. But still, you got two songs at this karaoke, so I did "Mr. Brightside" by the Killers on one leg.
Oh, wait. Speaking of which, I read, and it may be not the case anymore, but I've read somewhere that Mr. Brightside by the Killers has never left the top 100 in the UK charts.
Really? Wow.
Like
For how long?
This as of like 5 years ago, it had never gone up the charts.
How long?
Wow.
When did it come out?
2003, 2004.
Wow.
Yeah, something like that.
So like it had like a 15-year run or something of being in the top 100. It was just so bizarre that, of course, some journalists decided to write an article about it. Of course, I mean, it's a good song. But anyway, so you did Mr. Brightside. How did you almost get kicked off a set with Ian McShane?
So I ended up in the hospital.
Oh, God.
With this, my foot looked like a haggis, and I'm assuming people know what a haggis is.
Delicious, yeah.
So but very ugly. And then a couple of weeks later, it had healed enough for me to be able to go back on the set to do some work.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, I wasn't really able to run properly. But I was dressed as a soldier, and I was having to run towards the action, the horses, and Ewan McGregor. And I had obviously I wear glasses, so I had to take my glasses off, and I was hobbling. So I'm trying to run on this knackered leg and blind, and then I actually run into Ewan McGregor, and everybody's hitting me. The scene stops, the helmet comes flying off, and the director says it's the funniest, the worst and funniest thing he's seen since Keystone Cops. I'm taking that to the grave.
Wow. So So that's some comedy chops right there.
Might want to repeat that one.
You turned into a Dalek all of a sudden.
Chops.
Oh, I'm saying that's some quality comic chops.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's got the weird message that says that my internet is unstable, which usually means too many people are on Netflix or something. I don't know. Well, all the more to get through what we're talking about. Of course, the show. Jeff, you said you haven't watched it. You haven't read the novel.
No, I have not.
Okay.
I started watching the show, but like I said, there was some family.
It was dark. Yeah, I want to see it's dark, but it's not too dark. You definitely get to a place within the story where it's not quite as bad. My thing is dark comedy anyway.
I was dealing with enough death at that point.
Yeah, we understand. Okay, so since that, we're going to put that on the back burner then for a bit. I'm going to go to the next one. Coraline. Jeff used to watch my girls sometimes when they were really little. Yep. My girls were obsessed. And my little girls, mind you, so like pre-kindergarten, and they were still obsessed with Coraline, which should tell you a lot. My elder daughter turns 10 today. Happy birthday. And it should tell you a lot that both those kids love that movie since that age. And just how they are creepy kids. Like, I love it. They're weird and they have so much personality and they're not afraid of creepiness. And I think Coraline was definitely part of that for the one whose birthday is today.
We caught the birthday girl. I don't know how old she was, probably 4 or 5, watching Dexter. It was her own idea. It was Brandy came across my Brandy. It's like, what are you watching? She's watching on her little tablet. It's like, Dexter. And she's like, Stu, I don't know if you should be watching
that. Yeah. Stu, do you know the movie Dead Alive? It's one of Peter Jackson's first films.
No.
It's a zombie. It's a zombie movie. It's widely considered one of the goriest movies of all time.
But it's like so gory, it's funny.
It's like over the top. It's comical, right? So my other daughter, we caught, like Jeff and I were watching it, and we caught this child watching from like a vantage point in the hallway when she was 4 years old. So like they've always loved, they like creep. That one in particular loves creepy stuff. I promise I'm not a bad father. I didn't know. Like, this kid just loved, like, even since she was little loved Scooby-Doo. So I blame Scooby-Doo for her love of creepy things. Like age of 3 or 4, she starts watching Supernatural. So it was destined to be.
That's good. Yeah.
You like Supernatural?
I do. I'm not watching for ages, but
we should do a future episode with Supernatural. We were big fans too.
Yes.
That makes me. I can watch more of it, which is good. But then, less time with my partner.
Well, the first 5 seasons, especially, are the best ones. But
we've recently got Buffy back.
Oh, I love Buffy! Like this other daughter, like, she loves Buffy. She's actually sitting here waving at me as I say she loves Buffy. Like, she loves Buffy. Anyway, okay, it's a Coraline, Henry Selick movie. It's oddly become, like, came out in 2009 and has become a cult classic. Like, people watched it then. People went to the cinema theater to see it then, but now you can go to stores and buy Coraline clothing. In fact, yeah. My daughters actually got my wife. I think they both did, and they didn't know what each other was getting. They both got my wife Coraline T-shirts.
Wow,
separate ones, then, because I was whatever. But it's just something we love Coraline. People love Coraline. It's one of those movies like Stardust where people just sort of have affection for it. Of course, for some people, it's creepy, even though it's a kids movie. What do you guys have seen the movie, right?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. I've got this vague memory that it was a bit like Matilda on crack.
Also a great film. The incomparable Danny DeVito.
I'm pretty sure I've seen all of Coraline, but like you say, I was watching the girls at the time.
Yeah.
it was when she was a baby. It was when she was a baby. She was.
You know what? Anytime you want to rewatch it while you're over, we can definitely put that on. No problem whatsoever. Yeah, that actually
food.
We wore that DVD out. I'm on my second DVD of Coraline. That's how much we watched it. Same with Labyrinth. We wore that one out too.
I'm loving that Phil Pullman's a fan.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
With Phil, we need to do something with Phil Pullman later because I know you and I both love the Phil Pullman stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did Golden Compass as well.
Have you been on the show yet?
I was not an extra. I was in the original in the film.
I was say I was halfway expecting you to tell me that you're an extra on the show.
You were an extra in the film.
I was on the Golden Compass, the film.
That's a piece of shit. We don't care about that.
It is.
Actually, to this day, I've refused to watch it because I've heard it was so terrible.
It's rubbish. It's really not very good. It was a strange day on set as well. They film an awful lot in Greenwich. Have you got dogs?
I have a dog, yes.
What's it doing?
Being loud because somebody just came into my house. But anyway, yes. I'm sorry. So you said you were an extra on
Golden Compass, the film, but not the TV series.
Oh, you really?
Yeah.
That came out in 2007. That's quite a long time ago.
It was. It was one of my first jobs in London. It was not long after I'd moved down there.
Well, is it worth me watching? Because if you're in it, I might break my rule or whatever, but otherwise,
it's not. It really isn't. It will if you've got any love for the book at all, don't do it.
Okay, that's exactly what I've heard. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. I'm like, okay, I won't watch it.
The BBC did a great version.
Yeah, well, it's a partnership with over here. It's on HBO, and so I watched that. I want to say what
does Jeff prefer?
Of which what?
Did you like the film or the BBC version or the HBO version?
I haven't seen them.
I loved it. They've done a really great job. I'm curious. I'm curious what will happen.
Uh,
The film was highly meh.
Of course it was.
Yeah,
of course it was.
Well, the basically Philip Pullman's he's taking down the Catholic Church and the system and all.
Well, that. It's definitely directed at that.
Yeah, but then the movies it's set. The book sold so well, so then they're trying to accommodate to the lowest common denominator to sell more things.
Oh, I'm wondering what turns it'll take as they adapt the next couple novels, because as you said, with it being it's anti-Catholic or it's anti-Christianity, which has been its critique since it sort of gained popularity. It makes me.
Why would that be a critique?
Because we live in America, you and I do. I don't know how that goes over there, but
I was brought up a Catholic. But
okay, that's worked out.
I considered being a priest. Yeah, it worked out great. What it did for the therapist.
Nice. Okay, Coraline, you're done. Let's go to the next one. I'm just going to talk about this one really quickly, just because.
Asian boys.
Or Orlando Jones, Nancy Boys. It is a follow-up to American Gods. It's not a sequel, although it does feature one of the characters from American Gods. If anybody wants to check out anything in the nature of sequel to American Gods, it's in the novel, the collection of short stories called Trigger Warning. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, if you've seen the show, you know that Mr. Nancy is...
I used to work there. That's Piccadilly Circus.
Oh, yeah. Right there?
That's Antaros.
Uh-huh. So if you know, there we go. Is that not the cover in England?
I've not seen it before.
That's okay.
The first time I've come across it.
Oh, really? Well, it's one of the larger copies as well. Where am I? There it is. Boop. So this is the copy that I have. It's not the same scene.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you haven't watched, Stu, have you seen the show at all?
Never even heard of it.
I'm going to send you a YouTube clip where Orlando Jones, he's delivering a monologue to a slave ship, a bunch of the captured slaves coming to America.
Is it a Nancy and some kind of African?
It's African, African god.
A spider? Is it a spider?
The spider god. Correct. Good job.
I've studied a lot of mythology. I'm writing a book too.
Yay. And Stu's writing as well, and I'm working on another project. I have a couple stories coming out in the next 6 months or so.
You have 2 books out already.
Well, those are on hiatus, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Anyway,
who is this? I'm loving this guy's style. I'm just wondering.
Orlando Jones.
Seven up yours.
Yeah, he got fired from the show, although they just didn't want to have the character. I don't know, something weird's going on with it.
Was Ricky Gervais on set?
oh my!
Being see you next Tuesday.
Yeah. No, not that I know of anyway. Could be. Anyway, so I'll send you guys both a clip.
Cool.
Maybe we can even put a link to the clip if it's. I'm surely it's on YouTube.
I'm having deja vu. This is really weird. Anyway.
Are we in the Matrix? Don't ask me. That we are. We definitely are.
I'll be your counterpoint. I'm having Vujade.
Vujade.
George Carlin. The feeling that none of this has ever happened before.
That's where we are. All right, guys. I think one of the last major things we're going to talk about is the Graveyard Book. Yes. Stu, have you read Graveyard Book yet?
No, I'm afraid not.
If you were to read anything next, this would be my recommendation.
It was awesome. I just read it last week.
It's very accessible. It's a quick read. Jeff, you read it in how long?
Most
2 or 3 days.
Most of it in a day, and then I took a day or 2 off, and then finished it. So.
It's a quick read, and it's a wonderful story. Of course, it's a riff off of Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Book, in which a child named Bod is rescued from an assassin, and he is fostered and grows up in a graveyard, fostered by ghosts and a vampire, and
which they never tell you that he's a vampire, but it's
no, they don't. They don't.
Pretty obvious by the end.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot going on. It's one of those stories that you definitely want. If he does not do a sequel to Graveyard Book, I'd be very upset. But anyway, what I was going to tell you,
I was going to ask you is if there was anything else from these characters.
Well, not as of yet. Speaking of sequels, I want to say that about American Gods. There is a sequel story to American Gods, and trigger warning is a short story.
Stu.
So,
where'd Stu go?
Oh, Stu's gone. He might have hit a button.
Gone.
Anyway, we'll keep on going. Graveyard Book.
Stu.
Disney he should be able to rejoin off the link. Get developing Graveyard Book for a movie, so we may get to see it.
If you want to wait for him to get back, I could go pee.
Well, I need to do things.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. Should we give him? I don't know. Let's just go. Okay. Moving on. Ocean at the ocean at the end of the lane.
That was quick. I know.
For Graveyard Book?
Yeah, because that was such a good book.
Oh, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, it's
go for it.
It hooks you really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a slow lead up. You know, it starts with a murder of an entire family, except for
the first pages.
Except for the little boy who had a habit of wandering off by himself at night.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up the killer's trying to track him down, and he ends up in a graveyard. And
there he is.
Hey.
Hello, sorry, the money ran out in the meter.
Is that what it was? Yes.
No, the battery died.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know. I almost had the very same thing, and I got a warning. I'm like, oh shit! I
didn't even get a warning.
You lost your position on top.
Oh, I didn't get a warning. My screen just goes darker, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not plugged in. There we go. Jeff just explaining the premise of Graveyard Book.
So he wanders down the road a little bit and ends up at a graveyard, and the ghosts decide to hide him from this, obviously bad dude. And crap, what's the guy? What's his guardian's name?
I don't know. I'm actually sitting here thinking, like, wait, what's the bad guy? It's like Long Man Jack.
Jack, yeah. Jack
is the guy that's after, is the assassin who's after him.
With his black bone-handled knife.
Jack.
Maybe it's like an homage. Yeah.
Could be.
The Spring Heel Jack is a folk tale which goes back many years. So he gets used a lot in many fictional ways. So
Wait, I have to.
It might be a homage to him.
I have the novel. Maybe
he gets the Guardian like brings him food and stuff, but most of the time he's watched over by this nice ghost, husband and wife that never were able to have babies in life, so they decide to look after him, and they give him what they call the power of the graveyard, which allows him to see in the dark and walk through walls and fade so people can't see him.
He's just called the Man Jack. The Man Jack. Repeatedly, that is basically his name is the Man Jack.
What's his guardian called?
Oh, I'm looking. Keep going. Keep talking.
So he learns how to do all this stuff, and the ghosts are all quite interesting characters from having to coexist, being from different centuries, and there's even one that's a witch that's on the other side in some unconsecrated ground where they would hang people and bury them and
that's right.
Yeah.
There's an old Roman there, Gaius Pompeius, that one in there. Silas, yes, is the name of the guardian. And there's this turns out that he's talking to the Roman one day. He asks him what's the oldest, who's the oldest person here, and he tells him about this burial mound that goes back to is that the Indigo Man? Is that what it was?
Yep, goes back to pre-Roman times, and so he goes. Of course, he goes and checks it out because
that's what you do. Okay. Anything
and lots and lots and lots of more stuff happen. It's really good.
Oh, when you left, Stu, I told Jeff that Disney is developing Graveyard Book for a movie.
Well, I hope they do better than they did at Star Wars.
That is a can of worms.
Yeah,
folks.
Fist bump.
Yeah, right. If anybody, I feel like we should. Since you brought it up, you were in The Last Jedi, but I almost want to say, thankfully, your part was cut.
If anybody buys the DVD or the Blu-ray, I'm in the extras Blu-ray bit.
Yes, you're in the extra bits, but
with an alien woman. It was honestly, it was such a disappointment.
Were you on Canto Bite or some?
Yeah, he was a Canto Bite. He's with all the rich people.
The best scenes in the movie.
It was good to see. It was lovely to be on set, but to be honest, the rest of the extras, I'm not sure if the casting was very interesting in the sense that odd things happen as a film extra.
Yeah.
People seem to kind of take on the roles of the clothes they're wearing, and it's really odd. It's an odd thing.
No, it's character acting, right?
Well, you'd think, but you're just an extra, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're not there.
If you watch the extras on the Lord of the Rings, the making of, the orcs would all sit together for lunch.
They do.
And the elves would all sit together for lunch.
It's really weird. And that's exactly what happens. It's so strange. But so all of these gamblers and who are part of the casino scene, they're all meant to be all rich and kind of up themselves. And they were all very conservative, or Republican, I suppose you would call them, and and they were like, well, I hope you voted Tory. No, it's not where I stand.
Wait, like seriously? Or they were just trying to play the part?
No, like seriously. They were all, and it's like, I hope you voted for breakfast. Breakfast? I hope you voted for breakfast. Well, we all voted for breakfast. I hope you vote. They were like, I hope you voted for Brexit. I'm like, no.
Labour.
I'm all about Europe and all that sort of no, so they spoiled Star Wars big for me. It was not fair.
So it's like double spoiled then.
Yeah.
Especially now that the movie, God damn that movie. Yeah, anyway. I have to move on from that because I could go on.
Now your memories are full of a crappy movie and Tories.
And he should have left. And by the way, Ricky Gervais is a cunt.
He's probably quite a nice guy.
Yeah, you're right. He probably is. I follow him on Twitter. He says great things.
He does. So you're just trying to have a bit of fun with somebody, and then they go and rat on you.
No,
some people just can't take a joke.
What a stooge, man.
Anyway, okay, all right, guys. They adapted this novel into a stage play there that you could go see in London when those things are open again, Stu.
Excellent.
The Ocean at the End of the Lane. It's a short. I mean, I think technically it qualifies as a novella. It's even smaller than the Graveyard Book. This novel, however, it received extraordinary praise when it first came out. And anyway, it's like going back to that slide where I just put some of his awards. The Nobel Committee has endured some controversy because some of its members, but there is a Nobel Prize for Literature that has been given out. And over the last couple of years, it's been on hiatus because of these committee controversies. But Neil Gaiman he's been on the put out on the alternative Nobel list for literature, along with Haruki Murakami, who just keeps telling them to take his name off. And a lot of it has to do with what has come since this novel. That's how well received it is. And it's for me, I've read it 3 times because it's a quick read. I think it's the only novel. I've read American Gods probably twice, maybe 3 times, but it's such a weird book, and it's so it's nostalgia sucks. It's nostalgia sucks you in.
Explain.
And where you feel. What's it about? It's about a man who comes to where he grew up for a funeral, I believe it is, and he goes to the house that he grew up in, and it's a very different, strange place. And he starts to remember things that he hadn't remembered since they moved away from the house, because his family actually ends up moving away from the house shortly after some of the things he starts remembering. And he goes and he knocks on the door at the house at the end of this lane. It's a dirt road, Jeff. And he sees the pond, and he remembers, I remember that pond was an ocean. And he knocks on the door, and he talks I think I remember being here. And he's having this conversation with this woman. And lo and behold, the rest of the book is what had happened to him as a child in this house and the land, this land beyond the ocean, the land beyond the sea.
Is it
with the childhood? It's absolutely, of course, yes. Sure. It's absolutely supernatural, and it's wonderful, and it has to do with I've been watching a lot of 80s movies lately. In fact, that's been my kick, and the 80s were certainly obsessed with the coming of age movie. And you want to say that this is kind of a coming of age story, but it's more, he's actually really little. I think he's 7 years old in the story, which is really quite young if you've been around children. And it's very poignant, it's very moving in how he relates to some of these characters and how he ends up having to relate to his family and some of the things that his family does and how his family treat him. It's highly recommended, though you will not, it's one of those things that will pull on some heartstrings.
You have those?
I have a few.
You hide them.
Yes. No. I tell people this. This one will, it makes me feel feelings in my feelings maker. Yeah, my feelings maker. So I absolutely, this book makes me feel feelings in my feelings maker. There aren't a whole lot of those that do that. This is one of them.
Is it kind of
anything can set me off?
I'm the opposite. Usually it has to be something nostalgic, something that reminds me of my kids. Braveheart, God, the end of Braveheart, even though I don't like that movie as much, but God, that ending, Jesus.
Yesterday when Vera Lynn died, I was, oh my God, 103. It's just she could have lived so much longer. She had so much left to give.
And like I'm
Wow.
saying, when you get to about 103, you got to be like, God damn, is this over yet? Oh.
Yep. That's it. That's it.
Is it kind of a Narnia type thing? The ocean thing?
No. I'm not the biggest. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not the biggest fan of the Narnia stuff.
That's my favorite thing ever.
Oh, Stu, see, I view Tolkien and C.S. Lewis as sort of rivals.
They were
and
friends.
So they were, but they had a falling out because C.S. Lewis got divorced and Tolkien was, a bit of a...
No, his wife died.
Yeah, but he ends up having that's what it was. He ends up having a relationship with a divorced woman, which they made into a movie. Howard's End or something like that.
Tolkien didn't like
Shadowlands, that's it.
And
because Tolkien was like devoutly Catholic.
So C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis ends up going. He's Church of England eventually.
By
the time he writes Screwtape Letters,
the wardrobe is all based on the New Testament.
Yes. He definitely goes full on.
Jesus.
Yes.
Aslan is Jesus. Yes.
Well, Stu, that's another reason why I don't really like the Narnia things.
Well, I didn't even realize that until I was about 20.
Oh, see, it was hammered into my brain, so I'm just like. I don't know. I read Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit when I was a kid. Like those are some of the first real books I read, like 3rd, 4th grade. I'm like 9, 10 years old, chugging around these tomes and getting it and understanding it. And so for me, it was always like being a Tolkien loyalist.
It was one of my first real books too. My mother would read to me night before bed. I know, how strange, but these days I was probably about 6, and she read to me Silver Chief, White Fang, and The Hobbit.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're so lucky.
I know, right?
My mom was a teacher. So.
Okay, so wrapping up, guys. Stu, I put this one front and center for you. This is forthcoming. I think it comes out in November, but we have Pirate Stew coming out. I think you actually the one that brought that to my attention.
Yeah, I found it on Twitter. I was looking, and I was like, good.
Some of his short story collections. He actually did a short story version of Norse, the prose Edda.
I was thinking about checking that out.
The work that contains most of Norse mythology.
Snorri something or other.
All of it, Jeffrey. It's all in that. So if you want to check that one out, he has some children's story. I didn't put everything on here, but some of the stuff that I'd heard of. Fortunately, the milk. This is the trigger warning. That's the last story of which contains a sequel story to American Gods, but it also has a Sherlock Holmes kind of story and a Cthulhu story in it, which I'm a sucker for. So definitely work some stuff, and they're working out. In researching, I'd found this thing, and it's a trilogy, and I want to check it out now because I'd read something from Michael Reeves a number of years ago.
I've got one other question about Neil Gaiman.
Yes.
Does he sleep?
Well, you figured that he would be so prolific, but I don't think he has, a lot 6 or 8 novels out there, and some of them are children's story. He actually has, he gave a commencement speech. It's not Carnegie Mellon, but at an American university probably like 10-ish years ago, and his commencement speech was actually turned into a book as well. Wow. It's called Make Good Art, and it's beautiful. Of course, a lot of people love his voice. I think I like his voice, but
he does a good job.
My wife loves his. Yeah, he reads a lot of his own stories.
The thing what I actually found on YouTube, him reading the Graveyard Book in front of an audience.
Yeah,
and so that was actually really good. Wearing his leather jacket.
I'm not overly keen on his intonation, to be fair.
Say that again.
I'm not overly keen on his intonation.
Really? Why is that? Is it?
It's a bit too sort of stop-starty.
Okay.
And once upon a time, something comes across, and he does this again.
Oh, okay. I got you.
But it's just a. So I've been watching the masterclass, which is good.
Yeah, which I think it was the
then-
last thing we were going to talk about, right?
Well, then I recommend the way I did it. When I watched the YouTube videos of him doing it, I put it on 1.25 speed.
Oh, that would solve it.
Cheating.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, all right, guys. To close this all up, Stu and I took part of we did the master class with Neil Gaiman. Have you got
my mustache?
What?
The dude's got my mustache.
And Stu, I think that he might be your type.
He really is. He really is. I would totally do that if it's a match made in heaven. If he's also called Stu, and I'd do him.
Oh,
all night long.
Right on. Anyway, no to say about the master class. No, I have a master's in writing. I was sort of apprehensive to do the master class with him, but I'm like, fuck it, it's Neil Gaiman, and he has some very worthwhile things to say. Like even in I would say, especially the last 4 or 5 episodes, even when he's talking about plotting comic books, I'm like, damn, that's a good trick. Something that's very applicable for what I do. And I would say one of the last couple episodes, lessons, if you will, that he does, also has some very worthwhile. So Stu, keep on going. You'll get some good stuff from it.
Well, they're not going to give me my money back, so I'm going to keep on going.
Right, I know. I'm gonna do the Margaret Atwood one next, and probably a couple ones after that, just to make sure we get the money's worth. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else you guys want to say about Neil, about life, about anything? About wine?
The graveyard book was, it was
Sexy Pirates?
Pleasant surprise.
Sexy Pirates.
Very pleasant.
So you got my
surprise.
attention all of a sudden.
Arr, matey.
Arr. Why are pirates sexy? Because they are.
Oh my god!
You missed the joke from earlier.
You did miss it. Yeah.
What is it? What's happening in your house?
Shh. Loudness. How about that?
I knew I'd make James cringe like big time.
Yes. Yes.
So I had to do it. So I'll do it again. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
R.
No, his first love will always be the sea.
But I'm the worst audience because I love shit jokes.
There we go. Vindication. Because I was like, God damn it, Jeff.
I mainly do that kind of stuff to see him cringe.
Yeah, I did.
I put another joke on because I don't know if it correlates over there. It's Father's Day here. Next Sunday, this Sunday coming.
Yeah, for us too.
Yeah. So I put up on Facebook earlier. I'm looking for the perfect Father's Day gift, but I dread putting into Google a search for fertilizer and Semtex because I don't want the police to turn up to my house.
Wow. Yeah.
It's not a mixed reaction.
That might get you. Whoa. Anyway, okay.
And if we had NordVPN,
that's good.
If we had NordVPN as a sponsor, here is where we put the ad in.
Yes, that's true.
Who's that?
Okay, gentlemen, anything else that we wanted to exit on?
Have a look at my website, stewsimpson.co.uk. Thank you very much.
Indeed.
Send
Jeffrey?
me information so I can include links.
Yes, we will definitely put links in whatever we put out there. Okay, gentlemen, I think
nice
that will do it. Yes.
You too, Jeff.
And Stu, good seeing you again as always.
Let's do it again.
People don't know that I met James while I was serving him in a pub.
Yeah.
Cool. And the chef had gone home, and they said that they liked English chocolate. So
I remember that,
and I bought them some English chocolate because the dessert menu wasn't available.
Yep. And I remember one thing was like a mint chocolate thing, and I didn't even eat it then, and I whatever it was. What do you remember what it was?
It's like a Terry's mint chocolate.
Oh, it was terrible.
Terry's mint chocolate cream.
I love English. Every other thing you get, because you gave us 4. The 3 out of the 4 were fantastic. That one was terrible. like, oh my God, like, why did they eat this? But yeah.
That was the traditional, what's my favorite?
That one is? I'll just take the Cadbury chocolate, man. That's fine. That works. It does the job. Okay. Anyway. All right, guys. That will do us for the episode. As always, we wish you a fond farewell.
Thank you very much. Namaste.
Come back and see us again.
DTFN.